Assalamu alaikum, wonderful humans. I hope you're well. Welcome to another conversation, another live. I think today is going to be a really key sort of discussion, super important, because this is something I see over and over again in the people I'm coaching in my practice. So essentially the mistakes that I see when it comes to people who are trying to lose weight. If you're here, say hello so I don't feel like I'm talking to myself. Okay, so the first mistake that I see is people having unrealistic expectations. And I mean, we've all been there, right? We want to lose weight and you're like, oh my God, I want to lose 5 kilos in a month. Well, is that really realistic? Because here's what can happen. And when I try to explain these mistakes, I'm going to talk to them from physiological perspective, is what can happen in our body, right? As well as psychological. What does our mindset say about this? So when you're trying to lose a huge amount of weight in a short period of time, physiologically, the things that can happen is you're not only going to lose body fat, you are also going to lose muscle mass. I mean, the 10 kilos that you've lost in that month, that wasn't all body fat. You're losing lean mass, and lean mass is absolutely crucial. And in fact, the studies have shown that it's the loss of lean mass, the loss of muscle mass, is what makes people regain back the weight that they've lost. Because here's the thing. Muscle mass is important for the body. We need it for survival. Okay, so when we go on a diet trying to lose weight, when you're only dieting as a means to lose weight, yeah, you're going to lose body fat, but you're also going to lose muscle mass. That loss of muscle mass is going to trigger a defense mechanism in the body that tells the body, hey, you're going to starve to death because this person is losing a lot of muscle mass. As a response to that, right, the body ramps up your hunger. Have you tried to go on a diet and suddenly you have these moments where you're so hungry? Right, that's the body trying to defend itself, trying to preserve as much muscle mass as it can, right? So as a means to stop you from losing muscle mass, the body ramps up your hunger. Why? Because it wants you to eat to regain back the muscle that you've lost. But what tends to happen is when you're eating, you're not only going to regain the muscle that you've lost, you're also going to regain all the fat that you've lost. And this is why we see people who've lost weight and then regain it. They regain so much more weight than the weight that they've lost. Essentially, it's just because they either try to lose a lot of weight too quickly, right? The second thing is they underestimated and they didn't put systems in place to try and preserve as much muscle mass as you can, right? So basically, when you're trying to lose weight, your goal is to lose fat and maintain or build muscle mass, because that's what's going to help you. We're going to talk about that in the next part around resistance training. So this is what happens physiologically. Psychologically, it's like, listen, girl, the habits that you've built right now are the habits that you have right now are the habits that you've built over the years until now, right? So if you are in a habit of having a cookie at night at 9 p.m. in front of the telly with a cup of tea, right? You can stop that for a week or two, but eventually you're going to give up. You're going to miss that cookie. So again, when it comes to this journey, whatever changes that you're making, you shouldn't only be making them from the nutrition perspective, but also go easy on changing your habits. Because when you have unrealistic expectation of how quickly you're going to get results and you try to go all in, you're not going to be able to stick with it, right? You may lose the weight, but that weight is going to come back really quickly because you didn't focus on, maintaining the muscle mass that you're using that you're losing in the process, and B, right, slowly working on changing your behaviors and habits, right? Because we always revert back to the things that we're used to doing, right? So what you tend to find is people can stick to a diet when life is easy and stuff, right? they cut out all the things, and then when life gets hard, they stop and give up. Why? Because they didn't focus on, hey, let me tweak my nutrition, but also let me focus on changing my habits. So this is the one mistake that I see all the time, is this unrealistic expectations, is this I want to get results yesterday. And this is a human nature, right? And the reason I talk about it is we all experience it. We've all been there, but being aware of it can be really helpful in helping you try to manage your journey so you don't burn yourself out in the process. Okay, so that's the first thing. The second thing is I kind of touched upon it, is the importance of resistance training. Ladies, maintaining our muscle mass as you're trying to lose body fat is absolutely key. Number one, like I said, is important to help you regulate your appetite so that your body doesn't freak out and make you regain weight. Studies have shown that the people who've lost weight and maintained weight are the people who have maintained a consistent resistance training regime, like exercise routine. They have that there. Do you know what I mean? Because what that does, it helps them manage the appetite, because when you're losing weight, you're going to get hungrier, right? And this is why it can be so hard to try and lose it for long periods of time, because you get tired, you get hungry, you have to restrain yourself and all of these things. Resistance training helps you regulate that appetite, right? By allowing you to maintain or build as much muscle mass as you can. The second thing is our muscles are so key for our metabolic health. They are, you can see them as the largest glucose disposal site in the body. So especially as we're aging, especially, you know, when you're moving from a perimenopause into menopause, we need to have a good amount of muscle mass for our metabolic health. It's the one thing that is key when it comes to metabolic health, because that glucose has to go somewhere. If it doesn't go into the muscle, then it stays in the blood. And that's why you see for a lot of women who hit into perimenopause, they get diagnosis of insulin resistance, you know, pre-diabetes, diabetes, and all of these things, right? So maintaining a good amount of muscle mass, it goes beyond I want to look toned and fit and sexy. I mean, that's a good reason, but it is also key for our metabolic health. So resistance training important. Number one, it can help you manage your appetite. It's going to allow you to reduce the body freaking out that it is losing a lot of mass, right? Number two, it is crucial for our metabolic health. So that's the physiological component. What is the psychological importance of maintaining muscle mass? Well, studies have shown that it boosts your confidence. Yeah, you know, so you've got your workout in, you're lifting some weights, and you're going, yeah, I feel great, I feel amazing, I can do this. And that confidence that you're building as a result of resistance training, it pours out into all these other areas of your life, because it's a reminder to yourself, you're building a library of evidence that you can do hard things, right? And subhanAllah, we really ignore that library of evidence that we can do hard things, but that is absolutely key, because often for a lot of us who've been on weight loss journeys, we've failed a lot. So now you may just have this library of evidence that, oh, I can't do it. It is too hard. It is this. I've failed. I'm weak. God, this is what you may believe about yourself. But when you work towards something, like focusing on resistance training, right? And building a library of evidence that, yes, I'm strong, I'm capable, I'm resilient, that evidence and that confidence is going to pour out in all the other areas of your life, and it's going to encourage you to stay on the journey a lot longer and keep you on the journey, right? Because what tends to happen as well is when you don't exercise, after a while your body's going to tell you, like, yeah, you know, let's get some movement in, right? So that's the second mistake that I see, is people ignoring the importance of resistance training in their weight loss journey. The third thing, which is absolutely huge, is ignoring the small wins. This ties back to unrealistic expectations, but I wanted to specifically talk about this because I see this all the time. Somebody comes in a program, you know, I want to lose 10 kilos. Great, amazing. Okay, so we start to work on it, you know, and they're starting to adjust their nutrition, they're adjusting their exercise, they're moving more, they're feeling amazing, and then they step on the scale and they haven't lost any weight yet. It's like, oh my God, why is it taking so long? I'm not losing weight, right? At this point in time, they've forgotten all the small wins that they've had. They've forgotten that they're eating really well now. They've forgotten that they're exercising more and they're moving more, right? They've forgotten that today for breakfast, instead of having a muffin, actually had eggs and a toast, right? So because they're ignoring all the small wins and they just want to jump into the final outcome, they just end up and give up, right? As humans, and I'm going to say this again, and I spoke about this in my podcast, right? That Behavior Change Show, subscribe to it, right? The importance of our psychology on this journey. Those small wins are huge, because if you think about it, if you pile up one small win on top of the other, 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 by the end of the day, you look back and you're like, oh my God, I was able to change all of these things. But the reason you're succeeding, because those wins are compounding without you freaking out your mind. Because remember, we said the habits that you have now are habits you've built until now. So you're changing in a way that doesn't freak out your mind. And secondly, you're changing in a way that doesn't burn out your body. You're not changing too many things. You're not exercising 7 days a week here. You're building it slowly. That way your physiology, your body, and your mind are able to cope with those changes, right? And then you can stay consistent with those changes over a long period of time. And then they compound, and that's how you end up getting results. Okay, so don't ignore the small wins, the wins that you can't measure on the scale, the wins that are intangible. They are absolutely huge, because they are the ones that are going to allow you to stick with the process, and then you being able to stick with the process is what's going to help you get the outcomes that you want, and not only get the outcome that you want, but even get more than the outcome that you want. Okay, my lovelies, so just to reiterate, the mistakes that I see all the time. Number one, having unrealistic expectations. Don't. This is a journey. It is a journey. Do you know what I mean? So take time with it, right? You want to lose weight in a way that is smart, so you don't keep regaining it back. And at the same time, in a way that doesn't leave you feel incapable, in the way it doesn't discourage you. Okay, so be realistic about how long the journey is going to take and all of these things, for the sake of your body and your mind. The second thing is, don't ignore the importance of resistance training. Maintaining your muscle mass is absolutely key on this journey, because if you don't, chances of you maintaining that loss are slim, because your body is going to fight you. Your body's main purpose is survival. And muscle is key for our survival. And when you lose that in the process of fat loss, your body's not going to allow that. Okay, so make sure you resistance train in order to maintain muscle mass and even build more if you can, because it's also crucial for our metabolic health. And the third mistake that I see is underestimating the power of small wins. Small wins are what's going to lead to huge results in the long term, because they'll help you stay consistent, they'll help you stay the path, and when you look back, you're going to go, oh my goodness, who's this person? And that's what we eventually want, to make this a lifestyle, right? If you want to make this a lifestyle, you have to embrace the power of the small wins. Okay, beautiful women, please, if this was helpful, please subscribe to my website, to my podcast. I chat about all of the psychology around fat loss and health and all of these things on that specific podcast. If you're someone who's struggling with your weight and you've tried all of these things before and you finally want to know what can actually work, message me intensive. I'm running an intensive right now. This is going to close on Thursday, right? If you're curious about what it is, let's have a conversation, and I, inshallah, will catch you soon. Assalamu alaikum.